actually. All right, and I'm going to record. 1 second. Let me do this right. Share my proper screen.
It's really interesting that they've recorded my name with Raquel's picture.
Is that right? Is that how it worked out? Maybe it's
Yeah.
just overlapping.
Okay. It's interesting.
Anyway, I will go ahead and get us kicked off here. So, good evening, everybody. My name is Chris Price. I am the host of the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of Red Fox Multifamily. And tonight, we have an amazing guest speaker, someone who I really have a tremendous amount of respect for, someone who I call a friend, someone who is just an amazing entrepreneurial story, an amazing story overall. And I know we're gonna have, I know that we're in for a treat this evening with Miss Raquel Adkins here, who is going to talk to us a little bit about how to properly vet operators. But before we get into that, let me take a few moments to just introduce everyone to what the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup is about, as well as what we are about as it relates to Red Fox Multifamily. And so we're actually entering into our what I call our second season here with respect to the virtual meetup. We kicked off about 2 summers ago. And actually we kicked off about last summer, excuse me. And we in 2022, and it was just a great opportunity for us to connect with great presenters, great real estate investors, great people with that who talk about mindset. We had a great opportunity to also educate both passive and active investors on all the things related to this asset class. So I'm really excited about being able to come back for our second season here as it is, and we're kicking it off with a phenomenal guest speaker here. So here's what we're going to do just to go through some logistics. So the Wealth Mindset and Real Estate Investing Meetup is open to all who are interested in growing generational wealth through passive real estate investing and increasing their financial intelligence. This meetup is for the busy professional and retirees across various industries. The individuals in the group make a good living and they have discretionary income to invest in real estate for its proven wealth building power, but they don't have the time, the skill set, or the network to do it at speed and at scale. This meetup focuses on helping us all grow our wealth mindset by learning and to how to build and preserve wealth while developing and maintaining an abundance mindset. This meetup will focus on multifamily real estate investing as well as other proven ways to build wealth through real estate through passive investments. And we are sponsored by Red Fox Multifamily. So Red Fox Multifamily helps pharmaceutical and life science industry professionals diversify their portfolios, add passive income, and get all the other perks of real estate investing without having to do any of the work themselves. Red Fox Multifamily partners with passive investors to buy commercial multifamily real estate based on vetted opportunities we get access to from our trusted network of top operators in the best markets throughout the country. Partnering with Redbox Multifamily makes investing in real estate completely hands-off, allowing investors to add passive income, build equity, and save on taxes, all while being in an investment vehicle that's backed by a hard asset. And look, I'm so excited tonight. I want to make sure that we can all get the value out of this. So before we jump in, I want to ask that if you're not speaking, and like I said, I'm monitoring the group here as people join. I know we have several people that registered for the event. But if you're not speaking, please mute your lines. Please hold your questions to the end unless our speaker, Raquel, unless she invites you to come, to engage and ask questions along the way. This presentation is being recorded, and please note that this material does not constitute an offer or solicitation to purchase any securities. This is for information purposes only. It should not be construed as business, financial, or legal advice. So one last little sort of logistical thing here. Look, we are in the business of connecting and growing and learning. I know Raquel's going to share her information later on. If you want to talk to me or reach out to me in any way, you can scan this QR code, or you can shoot me an email at chris@multifamily.com. And I'm happy to speak with anyone about wealth mindset, about real estate investing. It's all about sharing and growing and connecting together. So in terms of today, our agenda is going to cover me introducing our speaker a little bit more, and also handing it over to our speaker to give the presentation. We'll have a little bit of a Q&A, and if time permits, we'll have a little bit of opportunity to do some virtual networking. So with that being said, let me go ahead and formally read the bio, and then I'll share my personal 2 cents here with our great speaker that we have. So Raquel Adkins, she has the goal to help 1,000 people grow their wealth and their passive income, and this is how she feels about seeing them win. And so Raquel is a vibrant and personable multifamily investor. She channels her passion for real estate into buying and managing apartment buildings alongside a dedicated team of investors. And thanks to her avid interest in real estate, she has established a thriving company along with her husband, Kyle, who holds an extensive background in construction management. Atkins Estates' mission is to craft a legacy that transcends their lifetimes. Time, the most cherished treasure in our earthly journey, lies at the heart of our mission. Our investing commitment is to gift their clients, I should say, and investors, the precious currency of time. Through this gift, the capacity to create meaningful impacts expands, allowing them to generously share their talents, treasures, and make a lasting imprint on the world. And that is phenomenal mission for the organization. And before I hand it over to Raquel, I must say that I have the pleasure of meeting Raquel probably a little over a year ago now, and breaking onto the scene here into the multifamily space, and we are both a part of a mastermind together. And when you talk about making an entrance in just about no time, in just a few months, Raquel was making a huge impact in our community, in the communities that she operates in. Being able to partner up with some other investors, add value, and be able to help people passively invest into multifamily deals. And that was just in a few months, which I know Raquel may end up talking about this evening. So I don't want to steal the thunder. But what was tremendous about this is the humility that she comes to this with, the kindness that and the generosity that she has in offering her time and helping people like me and others grow and learn. And I know that she continues to do this even a year plus later, being able to contribute, speaking to folks like us during the evenings, during the days, traveling, going and talking at various different conferences. If you follow her on social media, and if you don't, I highly encourage you to do that on Instagram and on other channels, Facebook, etc. Make sure that you connect with her and continue to follow her journey and support her journey as she continues to just bring value to all of us. So Raquel, I have to thank you so much for you giving us the time this evening. I'm looking forward to the folks that are here this evening being able to get this value. And then, of course, for all the members who may not have been able to join this evening live, we're recording it, so we'll be able to circulate it out to all of the members of the Meetup, as well as all the folks on our social media connections should be able to access this recording. So thank you very much for being here. And I
Crazy. You
wanna
know
turn it
that
over
I'm
to you.
about to have a baby. I'm 9 months pregnant, and you come in with an intro like this. You want to make me cry. You know I'm emotional. I'm hormonal. It's like, come on, man. It's like this was the prettiest introduction ever. You know, the sweetest thing ever. Thank you so much. You put me up so high. You know, and it just comes from a place of love and wanting to. I find that I found something that can make me in financial free, and I want to just spread that word to the world, and that's where my willingness to help comes from. But everything else was just extra sweet. Thank you so much. And you know, you have a very special place in my heart because we I think we connected when I was very green, and I was very early on to the mastermind. We connected through the mastermind, and I think I closed my first deal, and because it was a great tagline, you know, like 3 months in and 40 units, you know, and a lot of people contacted me. My goal with that was to connect with people and say, hey, look at me, this is possible, you know, and it's possible for you to be an operator. It's possible for you to grow your passive income. So if you were one of the first people that I connected, and we just hit it off, and I've been rooting for you and celebrating your major accomplishments too, and you live in a very special place in my heart. And of course, I will love to be here. And thank you for the invitation. And I've been preparing myself, and I actually came up with a guide, and I did a lot of research for today's topic. Uh, I'm not in the industry for a long time, but I learned so much, and I am so into this that I wanted to give as much information, especially for the heartbeat of the operation, which is the LPs, the limited partners, the passive investors. Because without the passive investors, we could not purchase apartment complexes like that through syndication. Syndication is a group of people coming together to purchase something large like a multifamily, you know. So I treat my passive investors, and everyone should, as the heartbeat of the whole operation. So it's very important. This topic is very important, and there's so much to go into this, you know, and there's so many notes that I hope you guys have pen and paper. You know, I have the presentation that I can email everyone if you want it at the end of the call as well. And I put a whole, it became way more than just vetting operators. You know, it's just kind of giving you a guide and an understanding from a passive investor perspective of the whole entire thing, because it's important. Because when we work with a passive investor that knows what everything is, it's so much better, you know. So there is a lot more trust that goes into this as well. There is a lot of more patience, because sometimes when you don't know and things are taking a little bit longer than projected, or something starts to raise some red flags in their minds, you know. So if you know exactly, but from a passive perspective, because everything that I searched online and everyone that I talked to, or that I download ebooks about passive investing, was kind of like teaching them how to operate, and not necessarily the pharmaceutical people like your people or my people, which is international investors. They don't necessarily want to operate, you know, so they don't need to know so much about operations, but they need to have an understanding about everything. And not everyone knows about finances and how returns work, and how the IRR and cash on cash. And, you know, like even for me, it took me a while to get a grip about the terminologies, and truly understand how much money I'm gonna get, you know. So I hope you guys enjoy my presentation, and if you have more questions, that's exactly what Chris said. I love to help everyone out, you know, and my goal is 1,000. I know it's big. I started with 100. I'm like, you know what? Let's put another zero in there. I want 1,000 people.
That's
Right.
right.
And
That's
it's
right.
like one beautiful thing about this that changed my mind from the beginning was I got into this searching for my own growth financially, right? And for my family, my direct kids, you know, and my family, and my generational wealth, right? But then when I saw that my impact and the success of my investments could impact a lot more people, that just blew my mind. You know, that just kind of opened a whole new world for me. And I became very obsessed on educating people about investments, and not necessarily to become operators, like I said before, but hey, there are money sitting around for sure in your accounts that you can gather together and invest in this and look at the benefits. And this is a little runaround, or this a little resume of everything that we do when we run an asset and things that you should pay attention. Because I'm seeing so many mistakes, and as you know, and if you follow the news about multifamily, a lot of big operators are getting in trouble, you know. So I don't want us to be like this, and I don't want our investors to happen
Right.
to, you know, and if that happens, for them to know, like, this is what we did, even though we did all of this, and this is what happened that led us to this. But hopefully that's not going to be us, and I think education is the key to this.
That's right. Knowledge is power. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, should I just go through like what I
Jump
have?
right in. Jump right
Yeah.
in, and I'll let you know if anyone has any questions, if they put anything in the chat. I'll be monitoring, and I'll shout them out, and so you can respond.
Good. Okay, so let me see here. Why do we choose multifamily, right? There are a couple of things that.
Raquel, did you want to share your screen, or did you want to just talk to it?
How can I share this?
There's a button next to the where it says leave, and it should say share with an arrow pointing up.
Oh, there you go.
And if you hit that a couple times, then it will give you. There you go. It's coming through now. We got you.
So
Perfect.
There's a lot more, you know. There's a lot of kind of like, let's go through it. I'll try to go as quick through things, but you can get a copy of this when we finish. But this is kind of like put a little nice intro, just kind of letting you know how I started and what's my journey, my main goal is, you know. And I think everything for me, for example, started with a mindset, and that's something that our mastermind kind of went through, and it hit me, you know, like, think about it. And this, I use it as motivation for us as well to stay focused, operators and passive investors. I think for us, we need to know why we're in this. Why do we want to multiply our money? Why do we want is it retirement? Is it to retire early? Is it to have a better quality of retirement? Is it to pay for our kids and our grandkids scholarships, or whatever the reason is, you know. And it's very important that you start your journey through this if you are starting from zero, or if you are already just in the journey. Just start thinking about what is your true reason for this, you know. And it should be beyond being wealthy, you know, because it should be what you're going to do when you have that money, what you're going to do when you have the financial freedom, you know. Like, it's a good exercise for us to know that there's something bigger than just money. Just imagine now you are in the path of making more money. So now what? What is about you that you want to accomplish? And I love starting with that, you know, questions that only you can answer. Like, what is the desire that you want for more passive income? Why do you believe this is important? You know, like, what is the goals? Is this gonna make you happier? You know, is this gonna make you a better person? Is this gonna, you know, like, what is it? You know, so, and all of those things, when you start working extra so you can save some more, that you can invest that money, you remember the reasons. So use that as fuel, not as anything to be a challenge, as a fuel. So syndication, basically, a syndication is a group of people coming together and purchasing a large asset, right? That's what I understand what syndication is. And then you have your sponsor, like people like Christopher and I, you know, people that are going to run the deal, is going to work together with the property management and put all the pieces of the puzzles together to purchase something large, you know, purchase an apartment complex. Then you have limited partners, which is yourselves, you know, your passive investors. And then you have your investment offering, which is basically something that we present to you to say, hey, this is the deal. It's not the same as when we receive something from the broker. That's completely different. That's something that we have to show you to say, hey, this is what the property looks like. This is the location of it. This is what we're going to do to it. This is the time frame, and these are the returns and all the financials. Then you start with a money talk. You know, we would start saying how we're going to structure the financial side of it, and how you can wire the funds and all this the money talk. And then the cash flow, which is one of the previous thing about it, you know. And then we start receiving cash flow. The equity growth, there's something that goes into multifamily as well. What it's going to look like in 3 to 7 years, or whatever the duration of the investment is. The legal structure as well, there's a lot that goes into it. It's going to be I recommend every property should have their own LLC, of course. So that's why it's limited partnership. Accreditations as well. Some are you have to be a non-accredited or accredited investors, and ways that you can invest. So that's something that a lot of my investors they didn't know that you could invest with self-directed IRA, or they kind of, it's not like they didn't know, they never thought of it. They're doctors, they are lawyers. They never stop and think, where can I get money from? So you can direct invest, or you can do a self-directed IRA or a 401k, home equity, but with a lot of care, especially nowadays. You can do a HELOC and take some money, some equity from your home. The importance with this is find some money that you can multiply. You know what I mean? Find some money. And if you read any book about finance, it always starts by saying live within or below your means, so you can save 10 to 20% of your income to invest and make you work less. Make the money work for you while you start working less and less and less. 1031 exchanges, if you already have something and you sell that, you can invest that money so you don't pay taxes. All of these things, your CPA, your financial advisor should be able to help you more with that. And why multifamily? A lot of people ask me that, because you have so many vehicles to invest. You can do self-storage, you can do short-term rentals, you can do assisted living, And if you start having shiny object syndrome, you're going to, like myself at the start, you start going everywhere, and nothing wrong with that, because eventually I do suggest and I do tell my investors to diversify, but the root of our wealth always comes from multifamily. For example, cash flow, it's something that is the income of the property minus expenses. It gets to a profit, and that profit is spread between all of the investors. Diversification, there's a lot of ways that you can invest in other vehicles as well, but multifamily is one of the best ones. Economy of the scale. Like for me to have 10 single family homes will take me, if I can only save 50,000 per year, it would take me a lot of years to get to 10 doors. And within 3 months, I have 40 doors, and within a year, I am at 4 assets totaling almost 600 doors. So you can only get that if you purchase multifamily. It's big or medium, whatever size you want, but you can scale much faster that way. And forced appreciation. So it's not like a home that you sit on it and then X amount of times, because of just the natural appreciation, it will worth more. This one is forced appreciation. So if you go in, that's why we like the value add. And you can do value add with old properties or new, because sometimes we get new properties. That's something that we're pivoting right now in our company, is we are trying to do newer and more just newer, straight for the cash flow. My investors want something prettier. We're kind of running away from burned down and crack houses and things like that to more stabilized assets. But you can still find value add into a brand new complex. Like, for example, one that I'm working on right now is a 2018 build, but has no amenities, or has a lot of space that we can add more amenities. So that's a way that you can add value, or make it more tech, like security cameras everywhere, or electronic door entrance, or things like that. So you can raise the rent. So if you raise the rent, the value of the property just already appreciates because of that. Tax benefits, there's a ton of tax benefits. Leverage, you can have bank money, and we can have passive investors like yourselves. Stability is a very stable, asset. Demand, there's always demand, especially in times of crisis. People tend to leave their homes to find multifamily as a more viable and more economical solution to live, and instead of just going straight to homeless status, they go to, and it's better and there's a lot more younger people, renting at the moment than buying. Wealth building, that's for sure, and a hedge against inflation. So a little definition, you have cash flow, you have internal rent. When you guys get this, if you want this presentation, you can read. There's a lot of terms, and still today I have to come back to this thing and just kind of like, oh, what is this again? Okay, because it gets a little confusing. But I think for me, when I look when I started, when I look at the returns, the easiest one for me to even explain to my first time investors is the equity multiple, meaning how much are you projecting that in 5 years I'm gonna get my money if I put 100,000. It's the easiest thing because if it's 1.95, then it's kind of 2%, 2 times multiple. So in 5 years I'm gonna get 200,000 back. My 100 plus 100 through cash flow and appreciation and sell proceeds and all of that. But if you want to get greedy and know exactly what all of the returns and the time that it takes to get your returns, these are all kind of like what we use to measure the returns. The underwriting, where we get a property is very different, and it gets me very. You guys are there. I only see my presentation. You guys are listening, and everyone's okay.
Yeah, we're all here.
Yeah, you already know all of this, Chris. We got trained in the same place, but so the underwriting basics is very important for us operators to know how to underwrite. I am not an analytical person, but I have people in my team that are very, very good on underwriting. And it's not the same as underwriting a single family. It's not like how much money can I get for rent and how much money is going to be my mortgage. It's not. It's a lot more, and it's very tricky and complex. And Michael Blanc, which is our mentor, he has one of the best underwriting softwares in the market, and we are very blessed to have access to it. And we use it. It looks kind of like this, So in one column we put what the property is doing at the moment, and then we start tricking the numbers by doing a lot of research. We check with property management. We check with comps around the area. We do a lot of research. We call the city to find out taxes because a lot of people are trying to sell properties at the moment based on what the properties can value or can be worth after we put $1 million into renovations, but that's not how we purchase an apartment. We purchase an apartment knowing how it's operating at the moment so we can pay the debt on it, but as well as how much can it cost in the future once we do all of this, so we can sell it to the investor like, hey, a couple of years we're going to be like this. We're not going to be getting that much cash flow, but look at how much we can get at the end, So how do you know if it's a good or bad deal? It's kind of tricky. It's gonna be a lot of you feeling your gut vibes and knowing about all of these things, like the deal sponsorship, who obviously the core of the operation, who is involved, all of the people involved, property analysis, how did they underwrite the property? Try to look at it and try to see within these guidelines that I'm giving you in this, if it kind of looks okay, or if there's something that is, like, for example, if they are estimating to raise the rent every year for more than like 8%, that's being too aggressive. Like if there's 2%, like right now we like the 2%. So it's not too aggressive. So every year we're gonna raise 2%. So it's very, very conservative. You want to be conservative. Financial, look at the pro forma, look at how it's doing at the moment, look at what we are expecting to be worth at the end, Risk migration, what are we doing to mitigate the risks? And are we doing stress tests on our underwriting? All of these things you should be asking. The investment is structured, like how much percent is going to everything? How much, again, are they being too aggressive or too conservative or too conservative is never an issue, but just check on the structure of it. Due diligence, what have you, operator, done to make sure that this property is actually what the numbers you put in there in the underwriting, Did you do? I have so many questions now that you guys can ask, and I believe that if you come in as an operator, if my passive investors come in with all these questions, that means that the less questions you're gonna have throughout this 7 to 5 years, 5 to 7 years. It's better for me to answer, and I do not. And if you think that investor is being too pushy or too demanding, then maybe it's not a good partnership. That's a red flag right there. But I love when they ask a lot of questions, because that means when this is running, when I'm busy running the asset, I'm not going to be answering these beginners or very at the beginning questions, so you already know all of these things. And if you do have, then I'm happy. I'm here to answer. We are partners at the end of the day. So due diligence, how much they have done, aligned with the same goals, because maybe they have some goals that are not the same as yours. Market comparison, how much, do a little bit of research, and find out if it's actually right. It's just call the property right beside this one and ask, like, hey, how much are you guys charging for rent? So you can confirm the due diligence too, and exit strategy. Check how much they're expecting, because if they're expecting to be amazing and it's not really realistic, check. Legal regulations, make sure that they have all of the legals in hand. Maybe hire a lawyer to check, or just kind of ask for it. Consultation, seek advisors and ask people like, hey, reach out to me or reach out to Christopher and say, hey, I'm actually looking for this other operator, but what do you think about this? So just always be checking and double checking the numbers that operators gives you. So this is what this call is all about. So this is kind of like the jam. So what are you going to do when you found an operator, because no one is going to come to you and say, hey, Raquel, I have this amazing deal, but the operators are not good. They're never going to say that. Or they're never going to say, we are not very good, but the deal is so good that you are going to make your money back. No one is going to do that. Everyone is going to come in with a business story and say, we are amazing. The deal is amazing. You should invest. Give me all your money, and send all your friends to me. Let's be rich together. So it's not, you have to kind of do your due diligence. And it's so scary because I see more and more, even on partners that wants to work with me, I do these things. Like if I want to partner with Christopher, for example, this is one of the things that I would be looking at for him, like asking him and doing background checks on him and everyone involved. Because if there's anyone in the team that have some bad credit, or not credit, but history, we all can go down together. So it's very, very important that you do just a simple background check, and ask for just the basic information about bankruptcy, fraud, anything fraudulent, Build your know, like, and trust. It's much better when you are in a partnership with people that you know, like, and trust. There's the three things that you should, because if you know him, but you don't really like him, remember, you're going to be married to him for 5 to 7 years, and it is, and a lot of things can happen. Remember, the core of this is investments. So sometimes investments, we can have all of this. We can be as conservative as we want. Something comes up, like, for example, COVID, and throw everything apart. Is an investment. Investment equals risk. The success rate is how much can we mitigate, how much study we can do behind it, how good of an operator we all are. That's what is going to change, or just minimize the risk exposure, But risk is always going to be there. But how you deal with it is going to be very important. So know, like, and trust is very important. Avoid hasty decision, or like last minute, or when people, I hate when I have to call an investor because we are so close to raise all of the money, and I have to call them and I'm like, hey, do you want this amazing investment? But you have to wire the money tomorrow, or you have 2 days. It's a pressure for me. It's a pressure that I'm putting on to my investors, and that's not, it's just a red flag. Why isn't it not fully funded by now? Sometimes it can happen, like someone had a commitment and then something came up and then we are short. That can happen as well. But don't be pressured to make a decision. Professionalism, like, make sure that all of the communication and the website and all of the little research that you did on the operators, they look professional, because if they, or it depends how you like, what you think professionalism is. But professionalism for me is like the way they write, the way they present themselves is very, very important. Comprehensive skill set, like who is going to be doing what and what background they have to justify that they're going to be in that role. Track record. Some people, look, I am the type of person that I like to bet on fire and passion more than actually track record, because I believe when you have that passion, you find ways to learn, and you find ways to, if you make a mistake, then you learn even better, and you find ways to compensate that mistake. So I like to bet on people that have passion more than track record, but some kind of track record within the team can already satisfy that question right there. Who is in your team? Like, for example, if I was based on that, then no one would have ever, my first time investors would never invest with me my first deal, because I came from flipping houses to buying a 40 unit apartment complex in Georgia. So if they were waiting for my track record, how can I prove that? But people from my team had a lot of track record, and good track record with good exits. Like, they sold for more than expecting projections, so you can leverage but someone within the team has to have some good track record. Request PPMs, all the documentation that you can, seek references. That's very big, just try to talk to people. You'll be surprised how even people that are on deals, because look, one thing, I had a call the other day with a SEC lawyer, and he said, look, if an investment goes downhill, the passive investors are not going to be your friends. So if they're not happy, they are not going to hold back to tell you exactly how the investment is going. So don't be afraid to ask for references and actually call them from, not only from passive investors that invest on their deal, but like for property management and for other partners, because you'll be surprised, because maybe they are great, but they are horrible people's person or something. So you trying to build a picture of the whole entire thing, not only the deal, but the whole entire group of operators. Okay, so this guy's going to be hard to work with people because this property management said, just kind of like paint your picture as you get all the references. Experience in downturns, that's major. That only comes with a lot of experience, and being in the industry for a long time. But what happened? Have you ever had a bad experience? Have you ever had a capital call? That's one of the major things that you should ask. Capital call means when we ask you for all your money, but somehow something happened throughout the investment lifetime that we have to call you again and say, hey, we need more money. Something came up, and you always, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you have to know exactly why, where that comes from, what happened. If it was our mistake, how can we avoid that mistake ever happening again? Because you're not going to be giving more and more money, And what happens if you don't have that money? So if they have experience in an economy downturn, like what were their solutions? How did they survive? Like how they survive COVID and things like that. Food cycles, like how many food cycles? Again, it's like if people ask that about me, I wouldn't have, and I still don't have, because it's going to take me 5 years to be able to tell you I have X amount of exits, meaning I went through a lifetime of an investment 5 times, 10 times, or X amount of times, So that goes to show how much they actually projected and how much they delivered. Investor commitment, like what everyone is putting to the table and how much everyone is going to get paid. And if they are waiving their acquisition fees, which is something that we get paid, operators, if they are waiving, or if I am actually putting 100,000 of my own money into this as well, just for you to, again, to take a picture of the whole thing. Understand the returns, like ask them to explain the returns, because just asking questions will show you the knowledge of the operators too, because sometimes they're not able to tell you returns, then that means that they don't know their deal, and they should know the deal inside and out. Let me see, team comprehensive and vision, so it's very, very important that what is the vision for the whole project? What is the vision and the values that the whole team, the operators have? What is it, the vision? What is it, what they think about? Like what is the main goal? Communication, very, very important, guys. It's very important that you ask how the communication is going to be, because how frequent it's going to be, because I am in 2 types of teams, and one of them is quarterly and one of them is weekly, and the other one is actually monthly, so 3. And I see like, okay, the weekly is way too much, because my investors don't have time to be reading reports and reading my emails about the apartment. And it can be a little nerve-wracking, because they're like, today the 2 people, 2 new leases, and then tomorrow 5 people is gonna. It can be too nerve-wracking. So I think a healthy balance is 1 month. 1 month giving you, but then in 1 month I expect to have a lot of information, not like the quarterly, which is just 1 email. I want to see monthly. What I like to do to my investors is a monthly communication, saying this is what's going on, this is how much more leases we have, this is vacancy, this is what the renovation has been. We've done all the outside, exterior. Here's pictures and proof too, because my investors don't want to just take my word, or I don't want to just give my investors my word. Here are the pictures before and after. Here are the pictures of, and the bad as well. I have one lady that I follow, and she actually gave the bad news first. And she always makes sure to give you exactly what went wrong, and if it were their mistakes, just put it in there. But also she puts the solution for it, how they're gonna solve it, and what they did to avoid that in the future. This is amazing. So I started putting that as well. But thank God we don't have that many mistakes yet. But anytime something bad like a hurricane in one of the Georgia, two of my Georgia properties kind of mess up everything, and a lot of people asked to leave, and now we had to place people on hotels for the meanwhile. So all of that I put in the email, and then what we did to solve, but it's not much we can do to avoid hurricanes. But capital protection plan, what they do, what they're trying to do, if things go wrong. So being a good investor is always kind of knowing what you're doing, like try to educate yourself. And I think this little guide will give you a good explanation of all the major things that you have to do, but as well as know that you are a part of the team. Be patient, know that it's a long-term play. It's not a get rich quick scheme, there. And we're playing with people's living, life. At the end of the day, people that are living in the apartment community, it's people that are paying for us to grow our wealth at the end of the day. So a lot of decisions have to be based on them as well, having them in mind and all of that. So it's not like we can go in, we need 30 doors to be renovated right away so we can increase by $200 a month. We're not going to do that because we have families living in that place. So we have to kind of live, or for example, understand their life situation within. It's hard for us to be an operator, but as well as having some heart in the game, and to be able to tell our investors, look, I know vacancy is being a little bit higher than expected, but it's because we have such a good relationship with our tenants, and the tenants that we are not trying to kick them out. They have been there for X amount of years, for example. It's just a scenario, and we're not trying to lose them. They're just going through a financial crisis at the moment, and they are making payments instead of paying once a month. They're paying every week, every paycheck or something. So be understanding that this is an investment, but as well as we working with people, and there's where they live. So, and as well as knowing that we are all humans and we all have mistakes. We make mistakes, like especially beginners, and like myself, we don't have that many experience, so things will come up, and problems will come up, and maybe we're not doing the best decisions or something, but we are all trying to have the best interest for our investors at all time. And it's very important that you only partner with people that no matter what happens, they will give you the money back first before going downhill. I remember one of my main kind of inspiration on this. She calls her business is Apartment Queen, and she actually, one of her buildings, she sold everything else, but one of her buildings were going through very, very tough times. So she's a single lady, so it's easier for her. So she sold everything that she had, and she actually moved in to one of the units just to make sure that the operation, she could cut down the amount of bills that she had and the apartment complex had by being there, by being the property management, by being the maintenance guy sometimes, because she wasn't going to let that whole operation go downhill. So that was kind of like her last try. She's like, I'm going to live in that apartment until I bring everything back, and then I can sell it, and give everyone back at least what I promised as multiples, not anything else, So it was amazing. And that's the attitude that your operator should have, and not like others that I'm seeing in the market going downhill and saying, hey, but you got some money, and I pay you for other apartments, so you should be fine with this one going downhill. Not like that, like your money should be back. It should be our main and only priority at if things go wrong, Final thoughts, like, how amazing it is to have more passive income so you can have the life that you dream, and partnering with the right operators is just a match made in heaven, and think about all of the first things that we did, that we talk about, which is the why. Then at the end of the little guide, you have all the terms, like I did a resume of every single term, like what is a 506B, what was everything here. I learned so much from doing this research, guys. So you can go back and kind of like, what is a balance? What is a base rent? What is, all of this? And then I think we're coming to an end here. And if you guys have
Great
any
resource.
yeah, that's it. That's pretty much my little guide that I put for you guys.
You hit the yeah, that was, it's such an amazing resource. And you can tell the amount of research that you put into that to be able to create it. And I can imagine for anyone, for people that have some experience, for people who are passive investors to have that to refer to. And it's interesting. I was at my kids' soccer practice yesterday, and one of my investors happened to be at the field, on the next field, and we were talking, and even he was sharing some information about, asking some of the questions about some things. And I can just think about having a resource like this to be
Yeah.
able to try to and refer to is so amazing. You mentioned, Raquel, so many great things, and one of the things that that I wanted to pick back up on, especially for you coming into this as an active investor. You talked about your why and your passion about this, but that mindset of an investor, and for anyone coming into this, talk to us a little bit more about the importance of mindset when people come into this and understanding that why, because I think that is so important.
So the process that I have when I talk to my investors, for example, when I meet someone, and you just mentioned a soccer practice, and yesterday I was in my kids' soccer practice, and I talked to someone because that's what I do, because I have such a passion about this, and I always ask, like, so what do you do? And he was like, oh, I'm a doctor. I'm like, oh, I work with a lot of doctors. And they're like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I work with apartment investing, like with people like yourself. And then that opens up a whole communication. So the next step for me is always to book a call. And in that call, there is not a pitch going on. I do not talk about any other investment opportunities that I have, any other returns. All we do is get to know them. Because if you really think about it, is people that are looking to invest normally have an issue. It doesn't necessarily mean the bad, or it's just something that they want to solve. If it's grow their wealth just to be wealthy, if it is just to help their kids, as I mentioned before, or retire early, or have more freedom of time and work less hours, I try to find their pain point, and that pain point, then we go backwards. Okay, so how much do you need to complete and to get to there? Let's make a plan one B, or one A, one B, and then two A, two B. To get to that goal that you have. What is your ultimate goal? Is it just a pain point, or is it a goal, an ultimate goal, or you don't have any goals? You just want to create more freedom of time. It's very, very important that you know what is it that money could solve. What is it that you need to do less? Like, for example, it was so painful. The other day I was in a call, and this gentleman, he was 50, and he's like, I had to add, I was calculating how much I needed to retire a little bit better than what my pension is allowing me to. Because, yes, you can have retirement accounts, but normally what I find with my investors is they all take a pay cut, and an extremely pay cut, or a downside in their lifestyle, because they do gonna have some kind of money coming in for pensions, but it's not the same as the quality of life that they do with their W-2 salary at the moment. So they never thought of that earlier enough to produce the same, or to have the same coming in when they retired. So it's very sad I hear that all the time on calls. They're like, yes, and I realize that we will have to move into a smaller house, or far away from the kids, or I will not be able to do this and this. I'll have to sell my boat, or just truly downgrading their life because, and how sad that is. Like, just imagine you work 60 plus years, just working so hard, saving and putting and thinking about that moment. But even though you thought about that moment, you still have to downgrade, and you're not gonna have that amazing retirement. You have to have you're gonna have a lot of freedom, but you have to downgrade everything. So it's kind of sad. And we planned, like, okay, how much more? And he was like, I have to work 5 more hours in a week to get to a little bit more, so I can make a little bit more. So if I could invest that money, and that money, I'm like, exactly. So let's put it in a paper. Let's make like a plan. Like, okay, so you will need a cash flow heavy. So you need money right now, or you will need an investment that is more, kind of trace their investment goals and what will suit them. And then from that, you can find investment opportunities for them. So, okay, I have my investors that need this money for college. So it's money right now. So they need cash flow, or money. The kids are still young, so they can wait another 10 years. So knowing their why, and they sharing it with me, their pain points and their whys, will help me cater to investment opportunities for them, to target their pain points and their goals. And I believe it's very important that we all have bigger than just money. That's something that I personally thought, and I heard that in a couple of multimillionaires in this industry, and they all say the same. Like, at first, I just wanted to be rich. I was poor all my life, and I just wanted to be wealthy. I don't want to have money problems. I want to retire early. I want to just have that flashy life. But then they found themselves having that life, and they knew anything else, and they didn't know what was bigger than this. So now I find myself in this amazing house, but I never thought of what I'm going to do with my free time. I did all the traveling. I bought all the cars, and all of my kids are set. And now what? So it's very important that you now, at the start of your wealth building, to know, like, what is it really that I want to do with my free time? What is it really that I want to do with my money? What do I want my kids to do with their money? So it all comes from mindset.
Absolutely. This is such an important topic for people. I want to open it up to the group here to take yourself up of the mute button, ask your questions live, or if you prefer to type them, I can read them out. But Teresa, I see you taking yourself off mute.
Yes, I have a question. This has been great. Thank you so much, Raquel, for sharing your your knowledge with us. The question that I have is, when you are talking to new investors, they don't know what they don't know. So do you find that you're spending more time, because they're not going to ask all these questions. They may ask some of them, because some of them, kind of just make sense. But if they don't know about the various stages of what operators do you find yourself educating them on that so that they have an idea before you get them to sign on the line, so that, it's no surprises to them? Or how do you go about handling that? And what are you finding?
I changed my mindset from maybe 6 months or half of my career on, because at first I thought the least they know, the quieter they're gonna be, and they're gonna leave me alone to just take care of it. I just want you to wire the funds and trust me that I will make your money back. But I find that that's absolutely the opposite. When they do have all of the information and they know a basic understanding about this whole thing, they are way more understanding, patient, knowledgeable, just more experienced, just become a sophisticated investor instead of completely brand new. And they know, okay, so this problem, that problem is not because of Raquel, it was because of this or because of that, so they know a lot more and they trust you a lot more because you took your time to ask the right questions. So when I have my first initial call with them, right off the bat, I'm like, look, I'm sorry, I might be coming across very nosy, but I have a bunch of questions because of that reason, because you don't know what you don't know. So if I leave the questions up to you, you don't know what to ask. So I do the questions for you. So then it puts them in a situation to be like, well, I'm actually so comfortable to tell you all of this because I didn't know that I had to ask this question. And I'm glad that you asked this because actually that pain point comes from this. And I didn't know how to ask that. So it helps a lot for you to ask a lot of questions and to educate them. I strongly believe as far as I'm actually put that guide together to give it for free for my investors or people that wants to know how to passively invest. But as well as I'm putting a whole course together, a little mastermind for passive investors. But that's going to take a lot of time. And right now I'm having a baby, so I don't know when that's going to happen. But I'm going as far as putting a course together, short course, and offering my mentorship just for them to have someone to ask and bounce other offerings with me or with anyone that has experience. Because I strongly believe that if they have the right information, they are better investors to work with.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, of course.
Great question. Anyone else have any questions out there? I'll give it another 5 seconds or so. Oh, well, Raquel, let me do this. What I do for all of the guest presenters that come on is I have a few questions that I ask them so that they can share and help the folks that get to know them a little better. For those people that are on the line and for the people that are going to be watching this on YouTube, catching the recording. to give them an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. So, are you ready for a few questions?
Should be. Go
All
for
right,
it.
let's do it. So, what is one of the best trips you have taken and why?
Best trips?
Yes, best
Back
trips.
home. Back home for sure. It's just always a sweet. I'm from Brazil, and I've been out of Brazil since 1999. So I'm basically an immigrant majority of my adult life, and back home is always a sweet feeling to it because even though I feel completely out of place because I'm like a citizen of the world and now I'm American citizen and I feel very proud to be here and to be an American. But going back home is kind of always a sweet feeling to like the food that you eat and where the school that I went to and taking my kids and taking my husband back home for sure. Or somewhere tropical with a beach
Yeah,
and sunshine. That's me. No,
yeah.
that was a good one.
I love.
I saw
I
you went to the
remember.
Caribbean the other day, and there's another one that I love too.
Yes, yes. My family is from the Caribbean. I have,
Nice.
and so that's a deep connection. But Brazil, and South America, it's one of the. My wife and I, we had such a great time there. We went to Rio de Janeiro. We went to Foz
Oh,
do
nice.
Iguaçu, but just had an incredible trip. And then we spent some time in Argentina. Your neighbors to the south down
Nice.
there. It was just a great
You
experience. But
saw
for
more than
anyone,
I did. I
yeah,
just left my little city and never just toured around, and I want more financial freedom so I can
yeah,
tour Brazil alone.
that's
That's my
right.
bucket
Well,
list.
we gotta. Well, I highly recommend to everybody to get down there and to visit your homeland. I think it's an amazing
Just
place,
be
and
careful, like anywhere in the world right now. Like even
of
in
course,
Italy, you can be pickpocket. Like you saw those videos. Just kind of be careful where you go, and don't go at night, and don't go to places that you don't know, and don't trust people. Just be in
yeah,
the very touristy areas, and you'll be safe. And people are lovely there, and food good too, and very cheap.
absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about some things that you're working on today. So you put together this amazing guide. That's obviously a labor of love. You got a
Yeah.
baby on the way, so I know you're getting ready
Yeah,
for.
right
So
now I'm stopping one thing to the labor of love right now, but which is
yes,
baby. Yeah,
that's
I'm
right.
kind of slowing down, and it's so hard because I was trying to squeeze one more acquisition before the baby came, but numbers are extremely hard at the moment, and I'm not barging down with my standards and my conservative method of underwriting, and it's been hard to find properties at the moment, and I find that right now what we are doing is pivoting more into new construction, especially being in Texas. So we are shining away from heavy Class B, Class C, or Class C, Class D, which is something that is in a good neighborhood but needs or older building or needs a lot of rehab. We're shining away from that to more stabilizing, cash flowing properties and newer or new construction. That's something that my husband does for a living, and that's what he specializes in. Here in Texas, especially, we have a huge demand, a shortage on housing. So I think it goes hand in hand. It's a different strategy altogether because it's a longer hold until my investors get paid, opposed to just a simple 6 months rehab. So it's a longer hold and a longer no money distributions, but it's a way prettier returns and way stable. And it's the kind of assets that I want to hold on for longer than 5 years. So do a bigger returns for the 5 years, and then once we refinance, all of my investors can continue to be in on it before a lower return, but then we cash flowing because we build it. So it has a lot of upside. So that's kind of I find that my company at the moment we are pivoting more into this new construction, prettier assets. I'm tired of going to very ghetto apartments and trying to sell this as the prettiest thing. The other day there was almost a robbery right beside when I was touring the apartment. I was like,
Oh
Uh,
I don't
no.
want this anymore. I don't. I'm like trying to sound like this was the best investment ever, and I almost got mugged in there. So
yeah,
I'm not. I'm trying to stay away from that. Even though class value add is very lucrative. If you do it right, if you have the right plan, I'm just going for newer buildings.
absolutely. Two more questions. What does financial freedom mean to you?
means having more time for things that matters to me and my family. For example, traveling, just spending time with them, not having to work for money, money working for us, and then paying for our living. It used to be very different. It used to be very flashy and all the lux in life. And right now it's like I don't even care about the lux anymore. I care about the freedom of time. Like if I just have a 4 hour a 4 hour week kind of work and just check on the properties, have everything on autopilot, and just be able to travel the world and show my kids around and be with them and be doing things that I want. If it is helping veterans or helping kids in Brazil or whatever it is, to have that time and know that the financials are on check, and as well as give back to the community of people that I invest in. Like do some kind of charity work or work with veterans. I have veterans in my heart. My husband is a vet, so we want to try to find some way of giving back to veterans that live in our community. Like giving 1 or 2 units for them or something like that. And I think that will come when financial freedom comes. So I believe
Awesome.
freedom of time and freedom to do good things back to the world.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And the last question that I have for you is about what this kind of a wealth mindset means to you. So you talked about the financial freedom, but having that the name of this show is Wealth Mindset. What does that mean to you?
Wealth mindset doesn't necessarily just mean money. I believe that it's just richness of self. Just knowing that, and sometimes money can solve a lot of that. It can put a lot of good into. That's why I started my little guide by, hey, is that gonna make you happier? Think for a second, because sometimes money can have the opposite influence on people. And I believe when I think about wealth means wealth of everything, money, and that money will bring more time and more freedom and more love to give back to the world and to the people. It's just having a mindset that is just abundant and rich in all aspects. And I think having the money is gonna help that on everyone. It can, but as well as can have a different aspect. But I believe that money can make your mind very powerful in good ways.
Absolutely. Well, you have been, as I imagined, a phenomenal speaker and
Oh,
guest today, and sharing with us. How can everyone that's here tonight get in contact with you if they want to follow you, your journey, see the pictures of the baby, um, all those things? How can people stay in contact with you? And then, of course, for the people that will be watching the recording, how can they keep in contact with you?
so my the way that I am most active, and it's funny because it's not professional at all. It's just me being me and me showing the pretty and the ugly and all of the funny and just entertaining people with my Instagram. And it can go both ways sometimes with my investors, but I think people love to see the true self behind the company. So I like to show that on my Instagram, which is rad as in radical, RAD_investors is my Instagram. I'm most active. I'm in all Facebook and LinkedIn, Raquel Adkins with D as in David Adkins. And my email is contact at atkinsestates.llc.com. Again, Atkins with D, not with T, and not the diet. And if you guys want to email me, I will email you back the presentation for today. And that's your Bible. Just keep referring to that every time that you have questions. And if you want to connect, I'm always here. And if you want help and guidance and a game plan, I'm here as well. So rad_investors or contact atkinsestates.llc.com is my email, and let's chat.
Fantastic. We'll get all of that information for the show notes, for the YouTube recording. We'll also email it out to everyone so that they can have access to it, as well as make sure that people can find a way to get that guide from you, as you mentioned. And I thank you so much, my friend, and I wish you the best in advance with your coming arrival here. And You know, she will have some big brothers looking after her. So this is awesome. So I'm going to stop the recording here. And then if anyone has any other questions that they can reach out to Raquel, please go ahead. But thank you very much and have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.